So Threads, that's a thing. And the guy who made it, Adam Mosseri, the head of Instagram, was just on the 20 VC podcast with Harry Stebbings, and they talked a ton about Threads. But that podcast is an hour and a half. So what we did in this video is pulled out the key points all about Threads so that you know everything that there is to know about Threads from the horse's mouth. I really hope everyone knows that saying. I think they do. So we're going to hear right from the mind of the guy who made this whole thing. Let's get into it. What's going on? It's Ben here from Flick. Great to meet you if you are new. And if you like social media content, you like growing on social media and monetizing your social media, you're definitely in the right place. That's all we talk about here. And today we're talking all about Threads because it is a hot button issue. It got a ton of users very quickly, but who knows if it's going to stick around. Let's hear about Mosseri, how they launched it, and how they plan to make it successful. So the first thing that he was asked was, did he expect it to be this successful in terms of amount of users that signed up?
I mean, I thought we had something. Look, when you're launching a new app, it's always more likely to fail than succeed. The median number of new apps, I read this somewhere, installed a month is 0 for the average person. So you're swimming upstream. But I did say I was more excited about this one than I have been about anything in a while, but I did want to recognize it was a big risk. And look, the numbers are staggering, but it's just signups. It's way easier to build something that people are willing to try than build something that people want to continue to use in a month or a year from now. So this is day 8. This is the best first 8 days I could have ever possibly imagined. But what really matters is how well do we iterate, how quickly do we improve the experience so that it is compelling enough that people will continue to use it over the long run.
Next, they talked about the why behind it growing so fast, the strategy that went into the launch, and how they're trying to get people to start using it and then actually keep using it on a consistent basis.
I mean, this is one of the key reasons for the success is that you sign up and you can not only you sign in with your Instagram account, it's not a separate account, and you can import your identity, but you can also essentially import your graph by just following everyone you already follow. And you can follow people who are not even on Threads yet, so that when they do join, that you automatically are connected. And so that we can even tell you, we can be like, hey, you've got 10,000 followers on this app already. You haven't even installed it yet. Do you want to try it? It's a pretty compelling value proposition.
Sure.
And so I think that was key. Now, look, the public conversation interest graph isn't necessarily the one you're the same in terms of your interest as what you follow on Instagram, which is why we allow the graphs to fork. We will build over time, I think, a graph sync option. So if you want just to have the same graph, you can, and we can make sure that it stays in sync for you. But I think it was also very important, particularly to the team, to allow people to choose a different experience or a different graph if they wanted one. And so I think we found a really good balance between making it really stupid easy to just pull everything in on day one, but also if you cared and you wanted to curate, you could go do that.
I didn't even know this before this interview, but Threads had a very creative influencer activation strategy to make the launch public and well known. And then Mosseri talked about why they did this, how they structured these deals, and how they work.
When you're starting something new, there's always a question, which is like, do you need to get people on it so that the creators will come, or do you need to get creators on it so the people will come? And my biggest fear, specifically with Threads, and I think the team had the same fear, was that people would show up and there'd just be nothing there and be like, I'm out. And so we learned this actually from IGTV a lot too, which is we should focus on the creator side, because also feeds are very head heavy in general, and so is text. So basically that's to say that you have to assume that Twitter and other feed products in general tend to have most of the content consumed is produced by a small number of people. So even more so than stories by a lot actually, and certainly their messaging. So we're like, okay, how do we get there to be a critical mass of content early? And we were trying to create something that was a less angry space. And so you often, I think, in a way you can't measure, can set the tone for a product with some of the decisions you make up front. So we had always known early that we wanted to get a bunch of creators into the app early. So we actually wanted to do it for longer. We only did it for 40 hours before.
Wow.
And then the partnerships team did a really, really good job.
I'm sorry, I'm super naive here. Do you just choose J-Lo and Gordon Ramsay?
Oh yeah, no, it's not me. We have a great small, lean, mean partnerships team, and so we picked verticals that we thought would be important because mostly we looked for verticals where they already did well on Instagram, and there was a vibrant commentary community around that. So we do great with athletes. And also sports commentary is its own sort of genre in a way. No, we weren't going after tech. We weren't going after news. We weren't going after politics. We were focused on musicians. We were focused on fashion. We were focused on athletes. We were focused on beauty. Actually, all of those have these amazing, creators and personalities that people are interested in, and all these amazing commentators who talk about that world. And look, everyone's going to come. Like, we're not going to try to be an exclusive club here, but that's what we leaned into for the launch. And so the partnerships team did a really good job.
Do you pay them?
No, we talked about it, but no, it's not scalable. And as soon as you start, it's a very slippery slope. You have to build a platform that provides enough value to someone that they want to share if it's really going to be sustainable over the long run. Mm-hmm. It's not to say you should never pay. We've done performance-based incentives on Instagram before, and I think there are targeted ways to do it. It's not a scalable solution, so it's got to be a way to learn or a way to bootstrap.
You do a post-mortem on this. It went very well as an influencer activation strategy.
Yes.
Why?
I think it went well for a few reasons. One is that we had gotten a bunch of people ready. We actually had wanted to launch earlier, so the partnership team had already kind of engaged everyone, and then we had to delay, so they were ready at a moment's notice because we had originally wanted to be up by VidCon. That helped. Being opinionated about the verticals helped. I think letting a bunch of people, a few thousand people in on, this was Tuesday, I think we launched Wednesday at midnight UK time, also built a huge amount of hype around it. We ended up having to pull up the launch again because on Wednesday we figured out that we did this pre-order thing on iOS just to kind of build some buzz. And we found out that we couldn't control what time the Apple App Store delivered the app to people's phones, and it would just deliver on midnight Thursday local time. So we became the #1 store in the App Store in Japan, and you couldn't log in. Because it was
there's a product wall and there's a product wall.
Yeah. It was a Wednesday morning in California. And so that's why we had to pull it up again. So we ended up being okay, what's the next biggest, most important country that's going to hit midnight? So we can either cancel the pre-orders, that seems terrible, or we can just pull up the launch. And so UK was the next one that was going to hit midnight, which is why it was midnight UK time. That we opened the floodgates, because otherwise every UK footballer would have gotten the app that had pre-ordered it would have had the app on their phone, and they would have logged in and it would have been error or something terrible. That's it's going to be the worst launch of all time. And so, but that actually ended up playing to our favor because that was that created more mystery and excitement. Or it moved up again, or moved up, and so just the whole thing ended up playing.
Are you getting any sleep in this time?
I don't get a lot of sleep.
Next, they talked about the elephant in the room, which is Twitter, or now X. Emissary went into detail about how Threads is different from Twitter, and they're not trying to be Twitter. That was one of the biggest takeaways that I heard. They want to be very different, with creators always wanting to make money and X giving out some very high payouts to creators right now. Emissary reacted to that and gave his 2 cents about what he thinks it really means.
You mentioned kind of the centrality of kind of enabling creators. Twitter recently been. I've just seen screenshots on Twitter.
Payments?
Yeah, payments for replies. I'm where's my payment, Elon? Yeah.
I think you have to think long. I think paying, and look, creators, for a lot of creators, it's a business. And I think we've been trying to figure out ways to support those businesses for a while now. But I think you can't just pay everybody who's a creator, because if there's tens of millions of creators, that just adds up to money that's going to just completely destroy your business model. So you have to figure out ways to give them tools to make money, in my opinion. And so we focus on things like subscriptions, which are relevant to a subset of creators, but that's growing. Facilitating branded content deals, that's actually going very well on Instagram. And we do some payments as well, but that's more for bootstrapping. And then for a segment that's creating real content that's really driving a lot of incremental value and revenue for Instagram. So look, I think it's going to get a bunch of attention for the next couple of days, but I think it's hard if it's unpredictable. If you're trying to run a business, you kind of need to know roughly what you're going to make ahead of time. And if you're kind of getting these lottery type checks, I think it gets much more harder to plan. I think that's a common complaint I've heard about how TikTok's payments compare to YouTube's payments, for instance, which are much more predictable. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, look, they're trying new things. I'm excited that I don't know where Twitter's going to be in a year. They're shaking things up in all sorts of ways over there.
Emissary then dove into the future of Threads, because this thing is still a baby, and the features they intend to add to make the whole app a lot more sticky and keep people consuming on that platform.
I think we have to do a number of different things. We have to plug a bunch of obvious missing features.
What are the biggest missing features?
Following feed, edit button, supporting the continent of Europe. I'm actually really excited about the Fediverse work that's coming and supporting activity.
When does Europe come?
Many months minimum.
February.
I mean, I'd be excited about that, honestly, at this point.
Another thing I didn't know is that Threads isn't available in Europe and it won't be for some time. Sorry to all my European brothers and sisters. I love you. But apparently Threads has some trouble getting approved or being able to launch there. And here's why.
It's laws coming out next year, making sure that we're proactively compliant with them. It's about data separation, but it's also about being able to verify all of the statements you make about how data works, because we hold ourselves to very high standards on that. And if we're going to make claims, we have to make sure that we prove those claims are true, and that just that work is a lot. It's a lot of time. It's just a lot of time.
So hopefully you get it sooner rather than later, but it doesn't sound like it's coming all that soon. But we'll let you know when that changes. So make sure to follow us on Instagram and subscribe to us here. And if you're brand new to Flick, we are social media nerds. We create content all about helping you grow and monetize social. And then we build tools powered by AI to make content creation as simple and time efficient as possible. And you can try out all of our tools completely for free by using the link in the description of this video. Our tools are the sponsor of our videos, so I had to throw it in. And as a social media nerd, you're going to love these tools. So go ahead and try it and then come back. Let me know how you like it. I'm pretty confident you're going to love it. But if you don't, that's okay. Come back and tell me. We'll still be friends. Plus, we're always creating and adding new tools to our content lab to make creating content and creating high-performing content incredibly easy. The team behind Threads is very, very small, and Mosseri talks about how many people are currently involved.
The team really properly formed a little less than 5 months ago, or 5 months ago. We started working on it a little before, but the team didn't really form properly until maybe 5 months ago. Dozens, 50-something engineers, 3 PMs, 3 designers. It's pretty lean, but they're really good engineers, designers, PMs, data scientists, researchers. So the opportunity cost is not properly, I think, evaluated by the number.
There's also a lot of drama behind that as well. They didn't mention it in the interview, but there's a lot of beef right now between X and Instagram because they hired a lot of ex-Twitter employees to build this Twitter clone. So we'll see how that plays out. Then going deeper on the topic of money, Mosseri then talked about how the platform itself plans to make money to make it a viable business.
A text-based feed is about the highest monetization efficiency of any sort of online business I've seen. I think that and search are basically the two. Just because the number of things you consume per hour is just incredibly high because it's so light, which allows ads to really seamlessly integrate. And we fell into this business model with Facebook. We were putting ads in this sort of right-hand column on the side of the website, like, don't look over here. And the shift to mobile forced us to do it and ended up being one of the best businesses of all time.
And then finally, Mosseri talks about what success would look like for the Threads product.
For me, the thing I'm going to look at the most is probably for the verticals we care about most, what does the creator community engagement look like? Because I think that's going to be a bellwether for how big the app is over the longer run. And then, I mean, right now, the thing I care about most is retention. Is like, and there's no good signal now because it hasn't been long enough, and everyone who signed up is, not everyone, but most of the people who've signed up have been early adopters and they use things differently. So we really just don't know yet. So it'll be the two things I'll focus on most for the next year will be the creator community, specifically, not only how many of them use the app, but how many of them share the app as a place for their creativity, and then retention for the average user.
Those were the key takeaways from their topic about Threads. The whole podcast is linked in the description box down below if you want to check it out. And if you want more content about Threads and how to grow on that platform, let us know in the comment section down below. And if there's enough demand, I'll make the content. And that's always the case. If there's something you want to see, let us know in the comments and we'll make it. So this was just a summary of everything you need to know about Threads from that podcast episode. If you want a full summary of that podcast, check out this video right here. We walk through everything else Mosseri shared about Instagram, about the mistakes that he's made, the changes that they've made and the ones to come, and everything else. So go ahead and check this out right now. I think you're going to like it and it will save you a ton of time. I'll see you over there. Peace.